Hi, and welcome to the Your Story Studios podcast, a podcast where we talk about all things content creation. Today, I'm joined by a man who needs absolutely no introduction. But for those who may be meeting you for the first time, who are you and what are you doing here?
Well, I was invited here, so that's why I'm here. But my name's Clinton Plowman. I am a full-time photographer with my company called Flash Studio. Excellent.
And so you're a photographer. Tell me, Clinton, how did you get into photography?
Oh my gosh. I think I was probably born into it a little bit. My grandfather was a photographer. He used to work for Yates Seeds, and he would take photos that would end up on the front of seed packets. So every time we got together with the family, it was always, he would take photos of the family and do family shots and all that stuff. So I kind of grew up with it like as part of everyday, gatherings. So I think later on, I wasn't very good at school. I hated school, so I left in year 10. And then after that, I went straight into an apprenticeship. I wasn't allowed to just leave school. I had to get an apprenticeship. So I went into printing. Now, printing I was always very artistic. The only classes I loved in school was woodwork and art classes. I was always the one, when you have the open day at school and they invite people to come and do things at the school so they can see students working. I was always invited to go into the art class or the wood class and be working, so everyone could see how good I was or how good the school was.
Absolutely,
I was, yeah.
Put their best foot forward.
I know, yeah. So
the star student.
I know, yeah. Yeah, that was about all that I was good for back then. But so doing the apprenticeship, printing, all that kind of stuff was still in that, creative field sort of. After I finished my apprenticeship, I went over to the US and I actually found a job printing, but that was doing like the whole dark rooms and, everything. So that was.
So what year would this be?
Yeah, I was about to say that year was that's the early 90s. So desktop publishing and all that was still very new. So I actually did get into desktop publishing. I think I was using like Photoshop version 2. No layers, everything had to be done, and you couldn't multi-process with different,
Very basic.
One job at a time, then you had to wipe the computer and then start again.
Wow,
kind of stuff because there was no room.
Yep, I remember
You were using
those.
hard drives at like 156 megabyte hard drives. That's just nuts when you think about it. But on that journey, I always had a camera shooting film. When I was in the US, I was at a training facility, so we'd do summer camps. So I'd always do the big group, photos and sell them back to the kids and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't until we moved back to Australia in the 2000s when digital started really coming to the fore. I was a senior designer in a medical supplies company of all things, and they had a home brand. So we got a camera. I'm thinking it was a Olympus 8080. So it was like 8 megapixel camera, and we were doing all the product photos with that. We had a little setup and some desk lamps and things like that to try and play with. And we're doing real simple product, but I'd take the camera home on the weekends. I started, as a designer, you're always using stock photography. So I knew about stock photography. So I thought, this might be a way to get some extra money going. So I did. I started doing stock photography, got into a few different places and was supplying stuff. And it wasn't great money, but it was still something in photography. So I was learning that. So that was really cool. Until somebody just said, you do photography. Why don't you shoot our wedding? I'm like, yeah, right. So I said, I'll shoot half in black and white film. And then I'll shoot half and I think we had a Minolta back then, but it was still like 8 megapixels, or it might have been 6 then, like tiny. But I had so much fun that day, and they actually liked my photos better than they had another guy just for a small part, a professional, and they liked my photos better than his. So I was like, whoa. Yeah. The light kind of goes on a bit. It's like, there could be some money involved. So I started just doing weekend stuff. Kids' parties, family stuff, family
Anything
portraits.
Find.
And stuff like that.
And so really at the start, friends and family doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's not like big corporations are reaching out to you yet.
You're just doing, whatever you can find. But I was also very interested in sports. So I was like, sports photography. All the kids were doing different sports, so I'd try and take photos of them. But that's when all those laws started coming in and you couldn't take photos of team sports and stuff. So I would just, on the weekends, I would just drive around and try to find different types of sports. You know, obviously lots of football, but you need longer lenses for that. So I didn't have that. So it was like, pretty much anything I could find, I was shooting and trying to find different things. I was driving around Saturdays and Sundays trying to find sports. I eventually built up enough of a portfolio to start showing people, and I did get into some agencies overseas to supply stuff. Pretty simple stuff, but that got me into then doing editorial work, and I got into doing shooting with the A-League, all the Melbourne games, and then eventually into shooting the Australian Open for like 5 years. And finals and things like that. So
how was that?
That was pretty amazing. Yeah, particularly when they give you a credit every day for food and all that kind of stuff. So
It helps.
I know, but like Canon had all their professional services there. So the first week you go, you just bring them all your gear. They'll clean it, calibrate it all for you. So
That's
that
helpful.
that was really nice. Plus they have their full range of gear that you could rent for a day, or not even like just hire out for the day to try it out. So you got to try all the different lenses and all that kind of stuff.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Plus they always had like, you had to get in early because you had to get all the free merch on the first couple of days before it was all gone. So I still got some of that stuff, but yeah, that was pretty amazing. I can't go to tennis anymore because I was like, I could be sitting down on the court.
You're being ruined.
I know, I've been ruined for that. But some amazing experiences, and you're growing pretty fast when you're doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, so that was a lot of fun.
Excellent. Yeah. And do you have any cool stories from the Australian Open that you want to share as a photographer?
Not that could probably still get me into trouble, but like, I think one of the cool things was just being amongst all the other photographers. And I always found that if I had a question, I could ask, and people are more than willing to share. They're sharing settings or just, different things. And as you go along, you find out, okay, what kind of sells. Like you get all the action shots, but then you go around and you take photos in the gift shop of little toys and things like that. And sometimes they're selling as much as the full-on action stuff. But yeah, it's hard to compete in that world now as a solo person because, teams like Getty's have like 6 or 7 photographers, but they'll also have like all the editors and the back stuff, and they're chucking the photos up before you can get there. So yeah, it's a tough game.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how you've gotten into photography. Tell me, what are you doing today?
Mm-hmm. Today, I've gone more from doing, COVID changed a lot.
For a lot of people, including myself.
Yes. So I've really pivoted since COVID, and it's not all bad. In the end, it's not going to be all bad. I've gone from doing like, the family portraits and weddings and that, and pretty much whatever I can get my hands on kind of stuff, to really focusing now on commercial work. I was really big in the dance photography pre-COVID, getting involved with Houston Ballet. I was doing stuff with Dance Mums, the TV show, the Australian Ballet, and yeah, it was going gangbusters. And then COVID hit and it just killed it. And it just wrecked all that momentum that I had built up. And studios didn't have a lot of money afterwards, so I had to really pivot to doing more the commercial work. And that's proving yourself. You've got to have the quality of work, and you've got to have that business sense and be available, obviously 9 to 5 during the week, which I'm finding is freeing up my weekends. But you've got to have that quality of work that you can do. Mainly product photography, headshots, and major events is what I've kind of settled into.
Do you like having your weekends back?
Yeah, I love having my weekends back. Yeah, with kids and just being able to enjoy the things that I love doing. I love to paint and draw as well. So I've found myself being able to do a lot more painting and drawing. And I've even been now through like our local council, I've been getting gigs as a painter. So that's been really weird.
Yeah. What kind of painting?
I'm doing exhibitions. I'm involved with a local art show and things like that. So we've created a few different exhibitions. I love working with young people and mentoring young people. So I've done classes in photography for young people through council. drawing classes, and then we've also worked on some projects. One's in the cultural center right now in Pakenham.
That's right. The Grow exhibition.
Yeah.
Which I was a part of as well.
That's right.
Yeah, which we didn't know about while we were doing
until
it.
we got the invitation. It's like, hang on, I know that person.
Yeah, that's right. You've been to the exhibition. I've yet to be there as of this recording, but I'm planning to get there very soon.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about it. Whet my appetite before I get there.
I think basically it's been a really good, for me personally, just learning about agriculture in Cardinia Shire. It's a huge, diverse industry. Well, because you've been around photographing it and videoing and interviewing and all that kind of stuff. So, the photos in the gallery look amazing. But I just didn't realize how diverse it is. And then part of engaging the young people to help with the exhibition and help with the things that I was creating, we did a little session of learning about the different breakdowns of the industry and all that kind of stuff and how much money is involved in the industry. In this area, it's quite impressive. I didn't realize how big and how diverse it is, and having the issues of trying to encourage young people to get into the industry because the industry is getting quite old now, and they need to get injection of young people into the industry. Yeah,
instead of the younger people going to university and just getting a marketing job or an accounting job. Those are actually two skills that do transfer over to agriculture,
sure.
Which some people might not be thinking about. Yeah. And then you don't have to move into the city, or you don't have to, if you live out in the Cardinia Shire, you don't have to relocate because there are farms in driving distance. It's not too far away. And probably you don't have to sit in traffic as well to get there as well. So you reclaim a lot of your time in the day, which is really nice.
Yeah, the basic concept that we worked on was from paddock to plate.
Mm-hmm.
So what was happening at the paddock, what was happening in the middle part, which is the market, the transportation, marketing, the wholesaling, the retailing, and then what happens when we actually get it onto our plates. So it was a really fun time.
So that's what you're doing today. And in the future, Clinton, what are you wanting to achieve?
I'm pretty content with keeping it a solo project and doing work that can enhance that. Well, the income basically of still being able to do it as a solo person. I do contract people like a second photographer or designers or, just people to help out carrying gear and stuff around. So, from time to time I'll need
production
people.
Assistants.
Different things. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So I do need that every now and again, but keeping it fairly solo is what I want it to be, just because that gives me a bit more freedom to pivot and move around and chase things that, are fun. Like right now I've just... I come from a street art kind of background and enjoying doing, graffiti and all that kind of stuff. And now I've just been able to, in the last year or so, get involved in doing all the big mural projects or the festivals and stuff like that. So photographing and documenting those. So that's been huge. That's been a lot of fun. So I've been able to, because I'm not tied down too much, I can pivot to spending 4 days at a festival, documenting all that, and not have to worry about servicing other regular clients or things like that. So I can I've got the freedom to be able to move around a bit in what I'm doing.
Yeah, excellent. And I do know that, right now, and I guess going into the future, you are a photographer, but you're getting clients more and more saying, hey, do you do video as well? Talk me through that. Are you enjoying those conversations, and are you embracing the video, the video coming into being used more and more, or are you resistant and are you saying, no, I am a photographer, I will not do video?
Although I'd like to have that ability to say, no, I'm just a photographer. But in certain scenarios, you have to be the photographer. You can't do two things at once.
Yep. And you've got to explain that to the client as well. Because even myself, I get asked, I get booked as a videographer, and then they ask, do you do photos as well? And then the answer is always, I can, but depending on what we're doing, what the project is, if it was a wedding, not that I do weddings, but I can only be taking video and not photo of the kiss, which only happens once.
If it's a scheduled event, there's no way you could do both.
Yeah.
But if it's a free-flowing, we've got a day to shoot this, then yeah, you can do a little bit. That's what's happening at the street art festivals. I can set up and do time lapse, and while the time lapse running, I can quickly run over and do some photos, and so I can do that in that sense. But
and then you go back and see the time lapse stopped working after a minute or two, and you're like, "Oh no, I should have had a production assistant."
Run out.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the fun stuff of using like the difference between like you got a little bit of GoPro going here, and you got this over here, and then I'm taking photos with this, and so you can have it all kind of going at the same time. But yeah, it's just you if you're going to resist, you're going to go backwards. The people that I see killing it out there right now are the 20-something kids. Well, I call them kids because I'm older, but the 20-somethings that have now almost grown up with social media, and they're killing it.
The digital natives.
And they're killing it in the content. They just know what content works. They're getting out there and doing it, and they're charging a premium.
And they don't need decades of experience to do it. They just need to show results.
They're good at it. They're good at it. Some of them, I'm like trying to steal some of their ideas because they're like, they've got it. They understand it. They understand the medium of it, and they're just killing it right now.
Yeah, and if they understand their audience as well, then it makes it so much easier as well.
Yeah.
And another thing that I want to pick your brain about is AI and how that is influencing content creation.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I've the more like Photoshop, the more Lightroom integrates AI. And then with Firefly, I'm subscribed to Adobe, so I've got the full subscription. Man, it's workflow things, denoising and things like that in low light when you got really hard grain, and then you drop a filter over that and you're like, oh my goodness, that's just amazing. Or just like the other day somebody had just a black and white logo, and they've asked me, what can you do with that? And I just throw that through Firefly, and then
so what's Firefly for people that might not know?
That's Adobe's AI program.
Okay. Yep.
Comes with the subscription. All of a sudden, it's like any kind of art background and kind of style. And then what I did was you create the logo nice and big in the picture, but then I threw it into Photoshop, and then I just extended it open with the canvas, selected the area, and then didn't say anything, and then just hit generate, and it creates all the background for it and everything. So all of a sudden, I've got this like huge poster with the logo with the, flying through clouds, I think it was, this silver logo flying through clouds. And that took me 15, 20 minutes.
No, it took you days to do that.
Sorry. After days, it took, just to finalize it took me.
That's right.
But, but things like that, like I took a photo of a band, and one of the photos that they really loved, I had smoke filtering through it. And they're saying, we want to make this into a poster. I was like, oh my God, so they wanted the band on the bottom, the logo on the top, but they wanted smoke all through it. So I did the same thing. I just, in Photoshop, opened the canvas right up to the size that they wanted, and then just selected the edges of that photo that was on the bottom, and then just said generate, and all of a sudden, bang, you got a black background with this smoke whispering all the way through it.
And you found it was usable?
Yeah. Because in that scenario, it didn't matter if it was a little bit lower res because it was just the smoke and it was a little bit out of focus. So I could do a full size like AO photo poster, and it looked great.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So simple things like that. Like, when I've needed to extend a photo open because it was, it should be a little bit short, or it was a portrait photo and I wanted to make it landscape, I've been able to just quickly like bang, bang, bang and just fill it out.
Yeah. I think it's exciting, a lot of these AI tools, as long as we embrace it and learn how to use them as tools. I don't think we're going to be replaced.
No.
100% anytime soon, hopefully, before I retire.
Yes.
But yeah, for those people that see AI and kind of roll their eyes and think, oh no, it's no good. Well, it might not be 100% perfect right now, but maybe next week it will be, maybe next month. Who knows?
Yeah, some of the stuff they're showing.
It's advancing so quickly. And if you are not keeping up with it, you will get left behind. I was talking to another photographer that I work with, and he does event photography, and he takes hundreds, if not thousands of photos for a client that wants a very quick turnaround, maybe even like he's doing the event that night and he needs to deliver something or all the photos the next morning for whatever reason. We actually don't even know what they use these photos for these events because we don't see them online, but the deadline's there. So instead of him staying up all night and going through all the photos and culling them and then doing long color grades and all that kind of stuff, he told me that he just runs it through AI. And I didn't ask him what the program was.
I know, I need to know that program.
What the AI can do is go through those photos, and if someone's blinking or not looking great, it culls those and just keeps all the selects that he probably would have picked anyway. And then it takes maybe 2,000 photos, brings it down to 50 photos or however many he needs to deliver. And then he can, I think maybe with AI, add like a preset or something like that. So it just speeds everything up, and it gives him more time with his family and to do other things that he'd like to do. And he still charges the same thing to the client. And the client doesn't need to know how he does it.
Well, they're still getting the same final product.
Exactly. So we're finding these tools that are helping us and making our jobs easier and more enjoyable. And hopefully, we keep seeing that the AI keeps advancing and doesn't enslave humanity in the process. That would be nice.
One day it will.
It can be our partner or companion and not our evil overlord, like the movies show us. And to finish off today's episode, Clinton, have you got any words of advice for other budding photographers, or maybe even people that are or photographers that have been doing it for a while and they just need a shot of inspiration?
One of my greatest, I don't know if you call it achievements, but when I was wanting to get into full-time photography, I was looking for any opportunities. And I would do, team photos for my kids, when they're playing sports. I'd say, do you want a team photo? And I can do that. And, friends having a party, and I'd be like, is there anyone doing photos? Can I come and do photos for you? As a gift and things like that. But I was driving to work with my last full-time job, and I heard that Shane Warne was doing a charity 2020 game. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I'll just find out more. So I went, as soon as I got to work, I found the details for it. And I just called up the Shane Warne Foundation and just said, you know what, I'm a professional photographer. Fake it till you make it. I'd be willing to volunteer my time to come and photograph the event for you. It took them a few days to get back to me, but they did come back to me and said, we'd like you to come. You can't go and photograph the sport, but you can photograph the charity side of it. So I got there early. I helped them set up when they needed help and photographed the event. And then I ended up getting onto the field anyway and doing the photo of the big check being presented and all that kind of stuff. And then it ended up, 15 years later, I was still photographing for them. They had me come back, do 4 or 5 events every year. Really got in with that crowd. Ended up doing Shane's portrait multiple times and campaigns for the different things that he was pushing, the last one being the gin that he had. So I did all the promo shots for that at his house in the downstairs bar. It was kind of trippy. But then probably my career highlight will forever be his family inviting me to be the official photographer for his memorial at the MCG, where I had complete access to anything and everybody for the full day and night, and got some amazing photos of what happened that night. Which was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Oh, do you want to share a little bit more about that event?
It was huge. Like I was there through Eddie Maguire's production company, and they had the big downstairs, like in the change rooms was the green room. So anybody who was anybody in the cricket world were down there. I'm a bit of a cricket nut, so I was just dying, not being so professional that I wouldn't ask for autographs or anything like that because it just wasn't appropriate. To being like there live. They had little areas fenced off where the photographers could be, and I'd walk past every now and again just to say hi to people while I was running around anywhere I wanted to be, backstage, during all the rehearsals, being on stage with all the performers. I like to do that I like to be there when they're doing their sound checks and stuff, because I'll get on stage and get right in their faces and stuff. The stuff that I couldn't do during the actual performance.
Yeah, that's a good tip for people.
Yeah, because then you might get some interesting photos that way. The craziest part was after the kids did all their speeches, the 3 kids plus me were whisked away by security up into the stands to reveal his name on the stand. And we're standing in the elevator going up, and the kids turned to me. The kids turned to me, and we're like, "How was our speeches? I hope I didn't cry too much. Did I sound okay?" And I'm like, I was trying not to cry and being like, "Yes, you guys were amazing. You did so well." So yeah, there's things like that. You just will forever be a part of, that amazing, opportunities that you once in a lifetime kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's a really good story to kind of reinforce that being a photographer can be quite the rewarding experience, because you get access to so many different people and so many different experiences. That was really interesting to hear that story. Thank you for sharing that, Clinton.
No worries.
And thank you for coming on the Your Story Studios podcast.
My pleasure.